The first scream didn't come from fear. It came from confusion. Every customer inside the little corner cafe froze as four enormous men in dark suits stepped through the front door at exactly 10 o'clock on a bright spring morning. They moved with military precision, their expressions unreadable, scanning every corner before stopping in front of a young waitress whose hands were still wrapped around a warm coffee mug. No one understood why four intimidating bodyguards had arrived for someone whose biggest daily worry was whether the pastries would sell before lunch. For one terrifying moment, everyone believed they had come to destroy her peaceful life. But the truth hidden behind their silent faces was far more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change someone's life, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our family and our community. Clara Whitmore had never considered herself extraordinary. She was 26 years old, worked 6 days a week in a cozy neighborhood cafe, and lived in a tiny apartment above an old bakery. Every morning she greeted strangers with genuine warmth, remembered regular customers' favorite drinks, and quietly paid for meals whenever she noticed someone counting coins with embarrassment. Life had never been easy. After losing both parents during her teenage years, she had learned that kindness cost nothing but often meant everything. She believed the world became a little brighter every time someone chose compassion over indifference, even when nobody was watching. The previous afternoon had begun like any other sunny day. After finishing her shift, Clara walked toward the bus stop carrying leftover bread the cafe owner allowed her to donate instead of throwing away. Halfway there, she noticed an elderly gentleman struggling with several heavy shopping bags. The bags slipped from his tired hands, oranges rolled across the sidewalk, an impatient pedestrian simply walked around him as though he were invisible. Without hesitation, Clara rushed forward, gathered every piece of fruit, lifted the bags, and offered to walk him home. The old man thanked her with a gentle smile that somehow carried both sadness and dignity. His clothes looked simple but impeccably clean, and despite his age his posture hinted that he had once carried enormous responsibility. Along the short walk he asked about her life, her dreams, and why she had stopped to help a complete stranger. Clara answered honestly. She explained that she knew how loneliness felt and hoped no one else would experience it alone if she could help. She never asked his name, never expected a reward, and politely refused the small envelope he quietly tried to hand her before wishing him a wonderful afternoon. The elderly man watched her disappear into the crowd with tears quietly gathering in his eyes. The following morning the cafe buzzed with its usual cheerful energy until the arrival of the four bodyguards. Customers whispered nervously while the manager's hands shook so badly he nearly dropped an entire tray of coffee cups. The men approached Clara respectfully rather than aggressively. Their leader placed a small velvet box and a handwritten letter on the table before taking one careful step backward. Inside the cafe, silence became almost unbearable. The letter revealed that the elderly stranger was Victor Langford, a man whose name few ordinary people recognized but whose influence reached across countless businesses throughout the country. Newspapers rarely printed his photograph, preferring mysterious headlines about a powerful figure connected to an empire surrounded by whispers, rumors, and fear. Many called him a mafia boss. Others described him as a businessman who had spent decades building influence through methods nobody dared question. Yet behind the intimidating reputation was an aging grandfather carrying unbearable regret. Years earlier Victor had lost his only daughter after a bitter family conflict driven by pride and power. She had pleaded with him to abandon violence and choose a different path, but he refused. She walked away forever, taking his young granddaughter with her. Despite spending years searching, he never found them again. Wealth, influence, and fear could command loyalty, but they could never buy another chance with family. When Clara helped him without recognizing his status, she unknowingly reminded him of the daughter he had failed. For the first time in decades, someone had offered kindness with absolutely no expectation of receiving anything in return. The velvet box contained an expensive necklace that could have changed Clara's financial future overnight. She stared at it for several long moments before gently closing the lid. She thanked the bodyguards for delivering the gift but explained she could not accept something so valuable for doing what every decent person should have done. Her answer stunned every person in the cafe. The bodyguards exchanged surprised glances because almost nobody had ever refused anything connected to Victor Langford. Instead of becoming offended, Victor smiled when the message reached him. The next day he returned personally, this time wearing the same modest clothes and arriving without intimidating attention. He sat quietly by the window drinking tea while observing Clara's simple routine. He watched her comfort a crying child, carry groceries for a pregnant customer, and secretly replace a homeless veteran's empty cup with fresh soup and warm bread. By lunchtime Victor finally understood something money had never taught him. Real respect could never be purchased. Over the following weeks he visited regularly. Their conversations slowly became longer and more meaningful. Clara never asked about his business because she cared far more about the man sitting before her than the rumors surrounding him. She spoke about forgiveness, explaining that people sometimes spend so much time punishing themselves for yesterday that they forget to become someone better today. Those words followed Victor everywhere. For the first time in decades, he began examining the damage left behind by his choices. He quietly funded community shelters, paid medical bills for struggling families, and supported youth centers that offered children opportunities he himself had once ignored. He never attached his name to any donation because Clara had unknowingly taught him that genuine kindness did not need applause. Not everyone welcomed the changes. Several longtime associates believed compassion made Victor weak. They feared his transformation would destroy the empire that had protected their wealth for years. Pressure mounted from every direction as they demanded he return to the ruthless decisions that had built his reputation. Victor refused. He declared that fear had already stolen enough from his life. His decision fractured old alliances, but instead of responding with violence, he dissolved questionable operations, cooperated with legal authorities where possible, and redirected legitimate resources toward rebuilding communities harmed by years of neglect. The process was painful, expensive, and dangerous, yet each step brought him closer to becoming the father he wished he had been. One bright afternoon months later, Victor received unexpected news. A charity organization contacted him after recognizing details from an old family photograph he had donated anonymously during a missing person search. His granddaughter had been located. She had grown into a compassionate teacher living several states away. She knew little about her grandfather except frightening stories from the past and initially refused every invitation to meet him. Victor accepted her decision without complaint. He wrote a single heartfelt letter admitting every mistake he had made. He asked for nothing except forgiveness someday if her heart ever found room for it. Weeks passed without an answer. Then, during another peaceful afternoon at Clara's cafe, a young woman entered holding the faded letter with trembling hands. She looked at Victor for a long time before quietly embracing the grandfather she had never truly known. Nobody inside the cafe spoke. Some customers cried openly. Clara stood behind the counter wiping away tears while smiling through them. That simple act of helping an elderly stranger carry heavy shopping bags had created ripples reaching far beyond one afternoon. It had restored hope to a broken family, inspired a powerful man to confront his past, and reminded an entire community that the smallest act of compassion can change lives no amount of money or power ever could. Before this story comes to an end, tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a small act of kindness that changed your life or restored your faith in people? Your words may become the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. As the afternoon sunlight poured through the cafe windows, Clara looked around at the laughter, conversations, and reunited family before quietly returning to work exactly as she always had. She never considered herself a hero because true kindness rarely seeks recognition. It simply chooses to help, even when no one is watching. Victor finally understood that the strongest people are not those who inspire fear but those who earn trust, offer forgiveness, and leave the world gentler than they found it. The greatest treasures in life are never hidden inside vaults or fortunes. They are found inside ordinary hearts willing to lift another person's burden without asking for anything in return. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, one simple act of kindness may be the beginning of someone else's miracle, and perhaps even your own. If you'd like, I can also write this story in a more cinematic, highly emotional 4,000 to 5,000 word version that's ideal for a 20 to 30 minute YouTube narration.